Good morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is challenges. And it should be a fun conversation. So before we get started, let's just take a minute to settle in and get present. Let's take a deep breath in through your nose. Hold it and feel that oxygen coursing through your body, enlivening all your cells, filling you with life-giving life force. And exhale any tension in your shoulders, your neck, behind your ears, in your arms and legs and back. And take another deep breath in and hold it. And this time imagine that it is sparkling white light just moving throughout every cell, every molecule of your being and beyond your body, and connecting you with the world through this brilliant, brilliant light. And as you exhale, exhale any remaining tension. And let's just gently press our palms together and really softly, really lightly, allow your fingers to tickle your palms and just feel how lovely that delicious sensation is. And let's allow ourselves to bring ourselves present to our bodies right here, right now. And good morning, Dido, and good morning to everybody who's here. So glad to have you joining us today. So today's topic is challenges. And I've talked before about transformational vocabulary, and that's kind of where we're going with this a little bit, is where we recontextualize our experience of something based on the way that we represent it in our language. So we have all experienced problems, yes? So this is a problem, that's a problem, the problem is this, on and on, right? So what happens if instead of perceiving the things that we have called problems as problems, what happens if we identify them instead as challenges? So this also comes from the notion that rather than life happening to us, it's happening for us and through us. And if that's the case, something that would be considered a problem would be maybe a challenge that is calling us to rise to be our best selves. So I'm inviting you to tell me what a problem is, what kind of something that you are currently experiencing as a problem. So I might have, I've been doing this for a long time, so I'm really not connected with problems so much anymore, which is really quite amazing, actually. But so let's say, just as an example, the problem is that I have all these things to do and I don't have enough time. And I bet a bunch of you can relate to that. So I'm inviting you to chime in. Good morning. Hi, Lauren. Welcome back. So good to have you here. Kim, welcome, welcome. It's great to have you here. So we're talking about problems, and we're going to transform those problems today into possibility. And how we can do that is by interacting with them as invitations. In other words, as a challenge. You know, like you're invited to interact with this challenge. So we often have an experience of not enough time, and so when we consider it as a problem versus a challenge, it's a problem, and then that's a hard thing to solve. Lauren says a problem is something you do not like, that you do not want to see through to the end. Okay, that works. I think that that's the case in a lot of situations. A problem could be somebody else, too, in our perception. Good morning, Shri Anushur. I don't know if I'm butchering your name there. I'm so sorry. And hi, Natalie. Welcome. Really, really glad to have you here. And Lauren says, or something you don't want to take care of, that's a problem. So the thing is that even with those definitions of a problem, Lauren, maybe what happens if you think of it as a challenge? Like a challenge that we've invited. What happens if we imagine that problem to be a challenge that we've invited, like a challenge to become more resourceful, or a challenge to find a way to do something more efficiently. Kim says, yes, your ego mind trying to make you think there's an issue. Yeah, you know what? I unlike a lot of other people, I think I try not to make the ego an enemy, because what I know about the ego, and I invite you to chime in about your experience with this too, please. But what I know about the ego is that it is the vehicle through which I have gotten to where I am in so many ways, and it's been a protector and a communicator, and uh, yes, it's gotten me in trouble, but it's also been the foundation of my survival. So I'm wondering if there's a way maybe to befriend the ego so that it gets tamed. What do you think, Kim? I'm curious to know what you say about that. And Lauren says a challenge is something that's difficult that you will see through to the end. So, Lauren, that's beautiful. So, a challenge is I'm taking on this challenge and I'm going to see it through. And that's a big switch around from it's a problem and I'm never going to get it done, or I'm never going to get it resolved. So the challenge, the notion of the word challenge, kind of opens up the opportunity to experience it differently, to engage with it from a position of power, actually, a position of strength, rather than a place of victimhood. And Kim says, yeah, that's true about your ego. It's helping us move forward. Exactly. Like it's a wonderful tool, and I'm thinking if we can befriend it, we can learn how to tame it. And if we develop a better relationship with it, so that it won't run rampant across, all the things in our lives. We're creating havoc. Instead, maybe we can work together with it to create a better experience of life. But let's get back to this problem idea. So a lot of people consider the ego as a problem, and what we can consider here too is, well, what if it's a challenge? What if it's a challenge to befriend it, to tame it, to appreciate it for what it provides us, and to be able to contextualize it in its expression as well. So, what kind of challenges or what kind of problems are you willing to convert to challenges in this moment? So, let's see, I'm just thinking about business for a second. Marketing, getting customers, for instance, might be a problem. Well, what if it's a challenge? Then it kind of triggers your creative juices. If it's a challenge, it's like, oh, okay, people like to rise to a challenge, right? People like to be able to play, right? And if something's a challenge, it doesn't have to be like a negative challenge. It can be an inspiring challenge. So what if getting customers is an inspiring challenge? What other kinds of problems might you be able to transform here into challenges that you have some enthusiasm to take on? Anybody game to join us with the problem? Let's see, what else, what other kinds of challenges? Sometimes, for me, it's a challenge to get enough sleep. And I could say that my lack of sleep was a problem, but if I'm able to engage with it as a challenge, it sort of stimulates a little bit of my creativity. And as I'm thinking about it in this moment, I realize, well, one way that I can meet that challenge is maybe to find a time during the day to take a nap, and find solutions that might not be necessarily so obvious. So here's a challenge. Is this a challenge that you're taking on, Kim, or has it been a problem? Are you willing to take it on as a challenge? Being loving to a critical parent. I can relate to that one, Kim, like in a big way. So the challenge about that is, what in my way of thinking can I shift so that my experience of the critical parent is is not detrimental to me. So the thing that I found to be really powerful, and with experience from two critical parents, uh, Kim says it's now converting to a challenge, but it was a problem. So let's look at creative solutions. So one thing that I found to be really powerful in dealing with a critical parent and transforming it, in taking on the challenge of a critical parent, was to hear their dialogue as an expression of their internal experience, and their internal wounds. So when I was able to hear the criticism levied, rather than taking it on and making it about me, I was able to leave it over there with the parent and recognize that they're simply reflecting or echoing their worldview and their priorities and their insecurities, often because their judgments of me were a projection of their judgments of themselves or their own weaknesses. I'm wondering, Kim, does that, any of that ring true for you? Are you aware to? Are you able to recognize any of that kind of pattern at play with the critical parent person in your life? And if so, I'm wondering, does it allow you to be more loving? I found that before I could be more loving, I had to become less reactive. That was for me. I'm not saying it's the same for you, but the thing that helped me to become less reactive was to be, Kim says, yes, thank you. The thing that helped me to become less reactive was first to become more objective. So initially, what I needed to do was to sort of separate myself so that I could observe. And when I was able to observe without personalizing everything, then I was able to hear things in a different context. And then when I was able to hear things in a different context, it gave me the capacity to engage compassionately, and then even with greater appreciation for who this person was and how they were expressing themselves, rather than taking everything personally that they were saying. And this actually is a big lesson for any interaction. The place where upset arises in and conflict typically in interaction is when we make the issue that's being discussed personal. So Kim says, yes, I'm working on being less reactive. It's a journey. Oh boy, Kim, I totally relate to that. It certainly is a journey. I hope it's helpful. Kim says, thank you for your advice. I hope that it's helpful. I just found, and this is years and years, it didn't come easy, Kim. So hopefully you'll be able to step into it with more grace than I did a long time ago. Um, yeah, I resisted that for a very long time, but noticed, I noticed that this is the case with anyone, if I start feeling myself be reactive, that if I can remember to step back and allow that the person that's speaking is simply speaking from their experience, their perception, their filter, then I don't need to feel as at the effect of what they're saying. So, and when you can recognize that person's filter, what's really interesting is that it gives you an inroad to actually creating a greater connection, a greater true communication, because you're detached enough to be able to see the dynamics of what's going on. And the parents that we've had, critical or otherwise, they are people that are a um, a result of all their life experiences and all their wounds. And often what we do as human beings is we project our own fears and our own wounds onto others. And when we get upset about something, it's because we've had our own experience, we've made our own judgment, we've made our own interpretation, and then we get attached to it. And those judgments and interpretations are often based in a desire to avoid pain, right? So we've learned ways to avoid pain. And for instance, if you have a child and you're scolding your child for a certain behavior, why are you doing that? You're doing that because you have had experiences that have informed you about certain behaviors and the consequences of certain behaviors that you're probably trying to spare your child, right? And oftentimes it comes out not from that place of compassion, it comes out from a place of upset or a place of fear that isn't even necessarily something that critical parent would identify. So what other back to problems versus challenges, what other things in your life are you looking to take on as a challenge? um, Time is a big one. um, Managing, let's see, I'm just trying to think of other things that are challenges. Moving into a a new situation. So we often feel stuck, right? So the problem is I feel stuck. So the challenge is I feel stuck. Well, what do I feel stuck about? And the challenge then is, what kind of solution can I come up with for that? What kind of pathway, what kind of activities, what kind of mindset can I move to that will unstick me? So the idea of the challenge is that it becomes something that's not insurmountable, that engages us on a creative level, and that hopefully brings us more life and vitality. So anybody else wanting to share any other problems? Um, I have a friend who has a pet that has been going through lots of medical issues, and that could so easily. Hello, Jennifer. Good morning. Welcome. So glad to have you here. We're talking about challenges versus problems and transforming our problems into challenges that we can then rise to meet. So I was just talking about a friend of mine who has this really, really, really beloved, deeply, deeply beloved pet that has been having a lot of health issues and came very close to dying, and it's kind of been day by day, and somebody could definitely see this as a problem, right? um, and she is rising to it as a challenge to be able to be present with this sweet, sweet, sweet animal through through the ups and downs. And it is a challenge for her to keep her positive mindset, because when anybody that you love is suffering through health difficulties, it's a very difficult thing. It can be a very challenging thing to experience. And then the question is, how can we take that experience, which could be otherwise devastating, and engage with it as a challenge to rise to our best selves? So, what else? What else? Come on, play with me here. Um, so another issue, I think, for me personally, give you a little insight. I am not really on top of cleaning my apartment, so that could be a real problem for me. Um, and what I notice is that I can take it on as a challenge, especially when I have motivation to meet that challenge. So motivation might be having company, even in this time of COVID, But another challenge, I could create a challenge for myself. I could just say, okay, I'm going to make a game of this, and I'm going to clean, get everything cleaned up in the space of 3 hours and take it on as a game. So then it moves from being a complaint to being a game that could be creative and productive. So how about other problems that you're facing in your life that you're willing to transform to challenges? Any takers here? So let's see. Come on, come play with me. So I'm wondering about this idea of converting or transforming problems into challenges. Does it feel different when you say this is a challenge? Does it feel different to you than it does when you say this is a problem? Feel it in your body. Feel like I have a problem. What I notice when I say I have a problem is all of a sudden, really, I felt weight on my shoulders. I felt my shoulders go down. I felt a heaviness when I say I have a problem. And Jennifer says, I have challenges around clearing clutter and downsizing. Yeah, me too, Jennifer, actually. And I am taking it on as a challenge rather than a problem. So, yes, Kim says it feels good, and I'm presuming it feels good to say it's a challenge rather than it's a problem. So when I say it feels like a growth opportunity when it's a challenge. Exactly, Kim. So when I say it's a challenge, I notice that my shoulders kind of raise up and get a bit stronger and solid, and my back feels straighter. And you can actually check in to see in your own body the power of languaging for all of these different transformational languaging tools that we're talking about. So Jennifer says downsizing includes letting go of inherited items. You know what, Jennifer? I have to say that's really, really, really timely. I had a long conversation with somebody yesterday about downsizing and inherited items, and I have a bunch of those. And I agree. There's something about the legacy and the lineage that comes with inherited items, particularly if you like them. I mean, if you don't like them, let them go. Find maybe there's another family member that might be interested in them, and if not, you know, I see where it's a burden. However, there are many beloved things too, inherited and otherwise. And I personally am wrestling with the notion of um, downsizing and letting go of those things. I'm wondering, I'd be very curious to know if you have any special tricks around that. We could probably talk about this for a whole other day, downsizing and letting things go. I think maybe if they go to good homes, then it makes the letting go a bit less painful. I have tons of papers and such that I've collected, and that's something to be looking at with regard to letting go as well. So yeah, this downsizing thing. I know a lot of us are in a place where we're paring things down and simplifying, and I think that there's great merit in that, and I love I love the things that I have, that, they're beautiful things, and I've collected them over time and space, and I wonder, I'm sure there are things that I can release that will give me greater spaciousness. But how do we interact with those things that we love? Is it a problem or is it a challenge? To go back to our theme, I guess the challenge is to find a way to really connect with our priorities and what it means to be attached to these things or to enjoy these things, and what's the difference. So I think I might use that as a topic for another day. Thank you for that, Jennifer. So Dido says, let me see, I'm trying to go minimal without losing my family things too. Yeah, I think we get to look at priorities and what the attachment is to a person, a particular thing. I know the art of uncluttering, the fine art of uncluttering, is taking an object and saying, does it bring me joy? And that's the criteria. And if it doesn't bring you joy, you get rid of it. So I'm wondering how that works. Oh, Jennifer, you just said the same thing. I've been asking myself, do I like, will I use, does it bring me joy? That's been helpful. Yeah, yeah. My thing is that maybe I'll use it someday. And the truth is that I have revisited many of the things that I have saved for years. I have gone back and used those things. So I, I am a bit of a collector. Um, and so, that's it's interesting because I have all these great arts and crafts things, creative things, tools, and such. And I have all kinds of healing tools and wonderful things, really, really wonderful things that I would love to share with other people. So, like the idea of being in community where you can share all these treasures and make them available for other people to use, that makes me happy. Um, but just getting rid of things to get rid of them, I'm not sure about that. So I'm curious, Jennifer, if you come up with a strategy beyond this very useful suggestion around, do I like, will I use, does it bring me joy? Beyond that, if you find any more tricks and tips, I'm really interested. So let's go back to this idea of problem and challenge. I'm wondering if anybody has a another problem that they're willing to convert to being a challenge. I am taking on the challenge of downsizing. I guess it's all a matter of degree, right? I don't have to get rid of everything. I can start with the things that are obviously not things that bring me joy, that I like, or that I'll use. So, um, but for everybody else, what do you think? Any other problems you want to convert to a challenge? Because challenges can be life affirming, right? And I guess I'm just going to end with that then today, is let's look at the things that we are inclined to say are call problems. Let's look at and experience the difference in our bodies and in our brain when we say, well, no, this is a challenge. I'm going to take it on as a challenge. And then what? And I'd love to get your feedback on how that works for you. And so this has been the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin. I'm here every weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. And I just have so much appreciation and love for you. And I am so grateful for you joining in these conversations. It's really, really a treat. Jennifer says, I try to find ways to use traditional items in non-traditional ways. I'll let you know. This is a great topic today as we're donating. That's also a wonderful thing, right, Jennifer? Donating, and we have things like Craigslist, and there are all kinds of swap sites where people, where you just get to give things away. So that's lots of great opportunities to downsize. And good luck with your downsizing, Jennifer. I am eager to hear more of your tips. That would be great. And with lots of love and compassion for you, thank you so much for joining us. And be sure to check out the other awesome programming on Enlightened World Network. Hope to see you tomorrow. Have a great one.